Think you're too smart to fall for a travel scam? Think again. Fake deals, shady locals, and scams so convincing even seasoned travelers get duped. This week, we're exposing the biggest travel scams and how to make sure you don't fall for them. Let's go.
I'm Jodi, founder of the travel blog Family Travel Magazine and mom of 2 college students.
I'm Anna, owner of Waves and Wandering LLC, which is a full-service travel agency. I'm also mom to 3 daughters and grandmother to 3 grandchildren. Welcome to our show.
Anna, I know you are planning a vacation over to Europe, and I know you have this cool experience booked in Edinburgh. What's going on? When are you going, and what have you planned?
Yeah, so we're going at the end of June into July, and my daughter likes to find interesting, quirky kind of stuff that we can do while we're on vacation, and she found an experience, Islander, which has shops all over Scotland, Edinburgh, St. Andrews. They are a shop that specializes in Harris tweed items, and they offer an hour-long workshop where you can go into the shop. You can pick out your own handbag base. You can pick out the Harris tweed that you want, and they will allow you to actually build your handbag during this workshop. So it's super cool if you're going there on a cruise ship or if it's a rainy afternoon and you're looking for something to do. They do the workshop several times throughout the day. Because there are multiple locations, there's definitely somewhere you can find. I still recommend booking it in advance through the Islander workshop page, but you can definitely kind of do this on the fly sort of and pick one of the shops, go do the workshop. One of the shops, which is on Marshall Avenue in Edinburgh, they actually have a cafe. So if you're in a cruise port with your husband and kids, they can go have a cup of coffee, some hot chocolate, a couple of pastries or snacks while you go build your handbag. But it's a really fun experience. And I think it really highlights the need when you're vacationing and you're planning your vacation, find the quirky little things because I'm all excited. I know this is going to be a souvenir that I will get to use for years and years, not like the t-shirt that you wear twice and, the dog rips it or you get a stain on it and then you throw it away. This is something that I know that I'll have and it's worth the investment of time.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things that I got on vacation was the little man in Greece that makes the custom shoes, the leather shoes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was in Athens. That was a must-do. I immediately went to him. You just can't get that stuff anywhere else. And you have a souvenir and something unique.
It's a cool experience and it's something that you will have. And even if you don't wear the shoes anymore, or if I get to a point where I'm not using the handbag, it's still a really cool reminder and a really cool experience that you got to do.
Yeah, definitely. So we are going to get into our main topic today. And this is all about vacation scams. So obviously, we want you to plan your vacation so that you have fun, right? That's the whole point. You want to be kind of exploring a new area. You want to be stress-free. And while, you want to avoid scams, there are many of them out there. And so we are going to talk about what some of the popular scams are, what some of the things you can do to prevent the scams, and just things to keep an eye out for. And so first we're going to talk about like a dream priced rental. So you're looking for a rental, you find one that's a great price. What should you be worried about?
Yeah, so this kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about with shore rentals or beach vacation rentals. You're on Airbnb or you're on VRBO and you find the rental of your dreams. It has all the right number of bedrooms, the right number of bathrooms. It's close to the beach. It has a pool. It has all the amenities you want. And then you see that it's like $250 a night and you think, why hasn't someone snatched this up? I'm going to book it for my trip. So you immediately try and lock it in. And then this is kind of where the scam takes place. You might have the quote unquote owner of this property reaching out to you saying, let's not go through Airbnb. I can save you the fees if you just pay me directly. We don't have to work with the website. We don't have to work with a management company. Just pay me directly. A lot of times they'll ask either for the full payment of your rental up front, or worse yet, they're going to ask you for a wire transfer. And you kind of have to go into this knowing these are not the owners of this property. They may not have the authority to rent this property. The property itself may not even exist. When you finally get all, your payments are made, you've made your wire transfer, you've done all of that stuff. Now you show up at your vacation destination with a car full of kids and all of your accessories, and there is no house, or the house is owned by someone else, or the house is rented by someone else. So you definitely want to be very careful. If it's too good to be true, it's probably not true.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add here too that a lot of times when these scams do happen and the person doesn't own the home, they have interior photos because the house was recently for sale.
Yes.
And, a real estate listing would have pictures. Those pictures, in my experience, are very different from what the photos would look like if you were renting the house. So if you're renting the house, there's going to be, throw pillows, and it's just going to look different.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily going to be staged for sale. It's going to be staged for vacation, right? So that's another thing you can do is look to see if those photos are, do a reverse image search, see if they're on a real estate site as a house that was recently sold.
That's a really good idea. And is there like a big tip off? Do you look at a picture and say, oh no, that's for sure, that's from a real estate site, that's not a rent?
I think it's really hard to tell because the nature of Airbnb or Vrbo is that it's an owner, so it's not necessarily going to be a professionally staged photo. A real estate photo probably will be professionally staged, but I think in this case, a big thing is the reviews. So if it doesn't have, if it has what looks like super cleared out, kind of empty looking real estate photos, it recently sold, and that doesn't mean, if it recently sold, that doesn't mean that it's not legitimately for rent, because some people might buy a place to rent, but the photos will probably be different, right? Because now it's a new owner. If you look at the reviews, however, you're going to start to feel like, okay, other people have stayed here. This is a legitimate place. If it's too good to be true, photos look real estate staged versus vacation staged. The same photos are found on a real estate site and there's no reviews. Now that's when you start getting suspicious.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
What about free vacation offers? So we've all gotten those.
We have all gotten those. And I will tell you this, that I would have been able to say just a year ago, I don't know anybody that's actually won a vacation, and then my husband won a vacation. But even with that, it's like, you don't know if you're being scammed. Like the email didn't come from the cruise line directly. It came from like a third party place. So these scams are a little hard to pinpoint. But if you get something that says you've won a free vacation, most of us never do win a free vacation, but you might get a postcard or a phone call that says you've won. The first thing you want to be aware of is, if it's a scam, they are certainly right up front going to ask you for credit card information. And it could be just to cover your taxes. It could be to cover incidentals, because, if you go to a hotel, you have to give them a credit card in case you charge room service or whatever. So they're going to ask for your credit card up front. The other thing that they might do is they might have to send you a packet, and they're sending it certified mail. So they want your credit card information so that they can ship this package to you of everything you need to know. If someone is asking you for money up front for a vacation that you've won, chances are you haven't won.
And when your husband did win a vacation, he knew he entered to win a vacation, right? So
yes, and that is such a good point.
Coming out of the blue, right?
Yeah, that is such a good point, because if you haven't entered to win a vacation, how are you winning a vacation?
Right.
Yeah, that's super good.
Can you avoid some of these travel scams by using a travel agent? Is that a good way to kind of feel them out?
Yes and no. I will tell you this, that there are a lot of websites set up as travel agencies that are not legitimate travel agencies. I know that we've all seen the news stories where someone will book a vacation through a reputable, or somebody they think is a reputable travel agent, and they get to the port and there is no stateroom for them, or they try and get the confirmation number so they can get on the plane or go to their hotel, and the agent has ghosted them. So when you're looking at travel agents, you really want to do your research. You want to look at their reviews. And not all travel agencies have readily available reviews, but you can still go to their website. Are they affiliated with any of the travel industry organizations like IATA or CLIA. CLIA, you can go to their website and search for an agent. So that will at least tell you if they have their CLIA membership. CLIA is the Cruise Line International Association. So there are ways to find out if you're working with a legitimate travel agent. But again, you don't want to give money up front for your entire vacation. There's always going to be a deposit that you have to make unless you're booking very last minute. And another thing with travel agencies is, for the most part, if you are booking a vacation with a travel agent, your payments are going to go directly to the company where you're going on vacation. So if you're going on a cruise, your credit card is going to go directly to the cruise line or directly to Disney or directly to Marriott. It shouldn't go through your travel agent for the most part. There are some instances, maybe with group travel, that does happen, but 9 times out of 10, maybe even 9.75 times out of 10, the money that you pay should be going directly to the cruise line, to your vacation destination.
And like, I mean,
Oh,
so with travel agents, like a lot of things that we recommend here, I think going with word of mouth or recommendations in general is a great idea. And then if you've gone with someone that your friend recommends, you'll feel a lot better when booking.
yeah, if you can find somebody that has had a positive experience, it definitely gives you a little bit more confidence to know that these are legitimate people. They're not going to scam you out of your money. So word of mouth is super important.
Now, what about the scams that target cruise people specifically?
There are so many of them. It's crazy. I can't even tell you, like, the list is a mile long. Some of them I know you've heard of, and the two biggest ones in the Facebook groups that happen are the t-shirt scams and the cruising duck scams. Yes, the shirts are, and I don't know how the administrators of these groups still let these t-shirt people in or don't immediately.
And I'll say the t-shirt people are also in the college groups.
Are they?
They are. Yeah. Like,
wow,
the
yeah.
parents of whatever college. Yeah, there's t-shirts, quilts, like canvas
wow.
stickers with the logo.
Well, because it's so easy to fall for. So I understand why they're using it. So what we're talking about is, if you are in a cruise group, like let's say on Facebook or a roll call group on one of the other websites, someone might post in there that they just bought their husband this t-shirt and the t-shirt is awesome, or they have a friend that's making these shirts and the shirts are awesome, and they're always super cute shirts, and of course you want them because you're going on the cruise and this will be your first souvenir, and the whole family will match getting on board. But what will happen is you will fill out your order forms, send in your money, give them your credit card, and you will not get the t-shirt, or you will get a much delayed, cheap knockoff of a t-shirt, but now someone else has your credit card information. So you have to really be careful of that. The other one, for people that don't cruise, you may not know what a cruising duck is, but basically somebody decided it was a great idea to buy rubber ducks and hide them on cruise ships for other people to find. That in and of itself, I think, is a scam, because who wants to waste all that time on vacation looking for cruising ducks? But if you get into some of these groups, I've seen this happen at least a couple of times. Someone will be making these elaborate ducks. They're either bedazzling them, or they've 3D printed them, or they've crocheted them. They've done something really to make these ducks so unique. And they're building you up for, like, oh my gosh, I hope I find one of these ducks. And then all of a sudden they'll post in the group, something happened, we've had a family emergency, someone has gotten sick, we have to cancel our cruise. I have all of these beautiful ducks. I've worked so hard. If anybody would be willing to, can I send them to you and you can hide them on my behalf? Well, the first thing that goes off in your head is, well, if I'm hiding them, these absolutely adorable ducks, one of them is going to find its way hidden in my suitcase because I love them. But then you'll reach out to this person, you'll private message them, and you'll say, no, I'd be happy to help. And what the scam is here is they will, because their family is in crisis, can you help them with shipping? And just like send them $20. It's never a ton of money. So it's never something that you think, I'm going to lose $50, $100. It's very little. Can you send me $20 to defray the cost of shipping? Of course you will, because you're going to have this adorable duck, but you never get the ducks because there aren't really ducks. It's just not a legitimate thing. And the reason that they can do, like, somebody might say, well, why are they doing this scam for $20? They're not, because in a group of 300 or 800 cruisers that are on this particular cruise, 50 people might respond and say, no, I'll take them, I'll help you. So now they're getting $20 from everybody, and you don't know it because it's all done via, direct message or private messaging. So they take off with that.
Yeah, and I think too, like, these groups exist for every single cruise line and every single sailing. So they can do this in every group.
Yeah, and they set up fake profiles, so it's never even the same person. Like you can't even say, well, I'm on this cruise in January and this cruise in December. Um, I'm going to recognize the name. They're not going to get me another time because I'm going to know, but it's a totally different person the next time around.
Right. So how do people avoid these types of scams? Obviously, there's a lot out there. How do you avoid them?
Yeah, I think even in just some of the things that you've suggested, do your research, do the Google image search, check the reviews, look for things that raise red flags. You will find negative reviews if a company is not doing what they're supposed to do. So that's a really good place to start. You will find red flags. Never pay for your full vacation up front. Yes, you might have to pay for it a week or so before you arrive, depending on the situation, but no one a year out is going to ask you for the entire amount for your beach rental. Never pay by wire transfer or cryptocurrency. Never pay for a gift card. And people will ask for gift cards. The reason they're asking you for those is because they can't be traced back to anybody. You just send a gift card somewhere. Avoid those deals that are too good to be true. If the rental is dirt cheap for a 20-bedroom mansion, you're not really getting what you think you're getting. Really, don't be tempted by those kind of things. Don't pay for the prize fees. You didn't enter a contest. You didn't win the trip. That's the biggest point to take away here. You didn't try, so you didn't win. And don't pay for anything through Facebook unless it's a trusted person that you know, that you've dealt with. And don't be lured in by people who, will befriend you over the course of several months in these cruise groups and then think, oh no, I totally trust them. I'm going to send them $30 to ship me the crocheted ducks. You're not going to get the ducks.
And the other thing I'll say too about Facebook, specifically as it relates to like the t-shirts and stuff, is that beware of closed comments. So if the person who posts it closes the comments and says DM me, usually means they don't want the other 50 people to know that 50 people already agreed to take the ducks,
Yeah.
right? So when comments are closed, that can often be they don't want a negative comment. They don't want to be found out. Once you're at your destination, are there scams to look out for?
There absolutely are. And I think you've done probably way more European travel than I have, so you've probably seen some of these in action. Taxi drivers are infamous venues, let's just say that, for scams. Make sure you're looking for reputable taxis. You get off of a cruise ship or you come out of your hotel and there is going to be an official taxi stand somewhere. That's where you want to go for your taxi. 30 people standing in line waiting. That's probably where you want to be. Most areas have some kind of municipal licensing for taxis. Look for those. If a cab driver claims that the meter isn't working, find another cab. And before you leave where you are, set the price. Know if it's a per person price. Know if you can pay credit card. Just get all of that cleared. Would you like to cover pickpockets so I can cough my lungs up?
Say something about that. I was at the airport this past weekend. I was at Orlando International Airport, which is obviously a very, very busy airport. And I was waiting for my ride share, and there was a man in a minivan who was seeing people with their phones calling a ride share and saying, well, I'll take you.
Oh my goodness.
Don't do that.
That
Don't do
terrifies
I don't
me.
know what the scam is there. I mean, obviously, it could be legitimate, but if he's a true rideshare person, then he'll be eligible to get that ride if you go through the app. Don't just get in, even if there's a wait, even if, this looks like the only person in the vicinity. Don't do that. Another big one, another one is pickpockets and thieves. And you see this throughout Europe. You can see it in the US. It happens a lot in crowds and crowded areas. And you kind of have to know what to be aware of. Number one, I would say with that sort of thing is, being aware of your surroundings, but also being aware of where your valuables are. So you don't want your wallet in your back pocket. You don't want a wide open tote bag purse. Backpacks can be tough if there's like an outside pocket. Those belt bags, the Lululemon belt bags that people wear crossbody, those are awesome because that's going to be like right in front of you. You can be aware of it. They still sell, I know they were super popular in the 90s, those like pouches that you can slip like under your shirt. So keep your valuables in those places. Use the safe in the hotel room. One of the big pickpocket scams, and we witnessed this in Florence, is the kind of two people thing where one is distracting and the other one is pickpocketing. So there was this woman, she was like dressed as a clown and she was kind of harassing people. And we knew that the pickpocket was elsewhere. So just kind of ignore those distractions. Be aware of, where your valuables are at all times. Keep your money, the majority of your money, most of your credit cards, your passport, keep those in the hotel safe, those things, or a photo on your phone. Keep those so that, if you do have to replace a passport, you're more easily able to do that. And yeah, just, and anyone, someone carrying a baby, someone dressed as a street performer, someone creating a distraction, any of these things can be a pickpocket. So you just have to, just hold on to your belongings, essentially.
Yeah, we were actually pickpocketed in Rome once, and it looked so innocent. It was an elderly woman who was carrying a basket with prayer cards in it, and she was just giving them to people. But as she was giving them, she had 7 or 10 kids running around with her. And as you're, talking to her and looking at the prayer cards and everything that she wants to gift to you, the kids are in every pocket of your jacket and doing all of the stuff. Even the most innocent thing can be something that you don't want to get involved in. Just avoid the commotion. If there's a commotion, you don't want to be any part of it.
Absolutely. And also, people dressed as characters, someone, standing in a square with a monkey. Those people obviously are going to expect tips. Just be aware of that.
Mail call, question stories, let's hear it all. From you to us, it's wonder and chat. So grab a seat, let's talk just like that.
So here's a question that we got based on a previous episode. Is it worth it trying to visit Cape Cod in the off season? Like not necessarily the beginning of June or in September, but maybe like March or October, November.
Those are great times to visit for very limited crowds. I'd say October, a lot of the restaurants will be closed, but they won't all be closed. Even the ones that are seasonal will still keep some October hours. Mid-October, I would say. So it depends. You're not going to go to the beach and get a suntan in October or March. You're going to see limited places that are open. So I wouldn't necessarily do it as like your family vacation, but if you're local and it's my favorite time to go to the beach just because I like to sit there and listen to the waves crash, and it's really nice, and it's, I'll just drive right up to the beach and be one of the few people that are there, but it's not going to be like the touristy experience.
Is there a definite end game for Cape Cod? Like I know in the Outer Banks, usually through November, everybody is good, but by Christmas time, everything is done. It's all shut, it's shuttered until easily March or the beginning of April. So is there a definite, like, just don't even bother to go to Cape Cod because there's nothing there?
Well, November, definitely. There are places that close Labor Day weekend. There are places that'll close the beginning of October, but I'd say anywhere that seasonally will probably be closed by November 1.
And we had a question from somebody who is thinking about listing their vacation home, and they've been leaning towards the Airbnb, VRBO kind of a thing. Do you have a preference or a recommendation? Is it better to go that way, or is it better to just list it with like a local real estate company or management company where you'll have somebody there? Or is it something that you kind of have to do both, like hire the management company but still list your house on some of these public sites?
It really depends on how involved you plan to be. So when you rent your house and you are the contact person, you're handling everything. The person gets locked out, you're handling it. The pipe bursts at 1 a.m, you're handling it. Sometimes you have a vacation home and it's, 8 hours away, or even ours is an hour and a half away, and I still didn't want to be responsible for that. A management company in that case will have generally a handyman on call who can handle that. They'll have a network of plumbers and HVAC people, electricians who can handle anything. So it just depends. If you're renting out a place that's in your hometown and you want to be there, it's great to use these platforms because you'll save money. But you just have to keep in mind that you're the contact person and you're the one handling all of it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
And then we had
No, go ahead.
And then we had a question about Princess Cruises from that episode. What is better, the Plus or the Premier?
I think that depends on what you're trying to get out of it. So Plus right now runs about $60 per person per day. But for that $60, you get a beverage package that gets you drinks up to $15. You also get your gratuities paid and you get Wi-Fi. On top of that, you're also getting a couple of the casual meals, which are about $15 each. Overall, I think that's probably the best package. But if you are the kind of person that only likes the top shelf liquors, tends to go for the drinks that are super expensive, or if you're the kind of person that likes to go on a cruise ship and do all of the specialty dining, you want to look at Premier. Now, Premier is about $90 per person per day. So it does add kind of a lot to the cost of your cruise. But you can dine at all of the specialty dining restaurants. You can dine at all of the casual restaurants for no additional costs. You still get the gratuities. You still get the Wi-Fi. You actually get a speedier Wi-Fi. There are a couple other little perks with Premier, but I think for most people, this is probably the only one that you need. And by the time you pay your gratuities and your Wi-Fi, if you're somebody that has to have Wi-Fi when you're cruising, which now is almost everybody, once you pay those two, it's almost a no-brainer to do Plus for the benefit of the drinks package.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be a good deal. In travel news this week, we have some really fun news of new things that are happening. And the first one we want to talk about is the new Royal Caribbean ship, the Legend of the Seas. And this is going to be an Icon class ship, and it's going to be
so excited.
In Europe. Now, am I right? This is a recycled name?
It is a recycled name. They used to have a Legend of the Seas, and they're bringing it back. And this is also the first Icon class ship to get its start in Europe. And I think that's super exciting because a lot of the ports over there, as I'm sure you know, they're smaller than, if you're going to the Caribbean. So, I'm anxious to see if some of these become tender ports that maybe were not tender ports before, but just the opportunity to sail on an Icon class ship in Europe, I think is amazing.
And I haven't seen an Icon class ship yet, but I really want to because I've seen the photos and everything, and it just seems like there's a lot of really cool aspects to it.
Yeah, and I think the way Royal is changing the schedules around for some of their ships, like Wonder of the Seas used to be a full week cruise. Now they're doing 3 and 4 nights. So I'm hoping that they switch Icon to 3 or 4 nights so that we could just hop on a couple of these ships that, we've been putting on the back burner.
It's hard when it's a 7-day, but if it's a 3 or 4 day ship, it's much easier.
Definitely easier.
And this is in addition to the Star of the Seas, which will also be Icon class coming later this year.
Yeah, that comes this year, and that's super exciting. And so I've heard from people who have sailed Icon who are anxious to see what changes have been made. And, I don't know how likely it is for a cruise line to make changes because once they come up with the design for like the Icon class, that's kind of set in stone. So I'm really anxious to see what people who have already done the Icon are going to be saying about Star.
Yeah. So some other interesting news is that Walt Disney World has taken 2 of their very popular attractions off of virtual queue. And this is Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which was the reimagined Splash Mountain, and the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, which is probably my favorite ride at all of the Disney parks.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I know you don't love it, but
oh my God, I thought I was going to die.
It's a really fun ride. It's really popular. So for someone planning a trip, this obviously means you don't have to be on your phone at 7 a.m. to get the virtual queue. What else does it mean? It
likely means that you will have to wait a little bit longer, or you're going to have to buy the individual lightning lane for these attractions, because the virtual queue, for those that aren't familiar with the way those worked, you would get on your phone at 7 a.m. and you would try and get a boarding group. And if you couldn't get it at 7 a.m., you could try again at 1 inside the park. But if you didn't get a virtual queue boarding group, you didn't get to ride the ride.
Right.
So now with that gone, you don't have to worry about getting the boarding group to ride the ride, but now the line to ride the ride is going to be much, much longer. Not that there was never a line with the boarding groups, but now you're really going to have to wait in line. And when they first introduced attractions like Flight of Passage, for example, that was like 180 minutes to ride that ride. So I'm anxious to see if we'll see lines of that magnitude, or if individual lightning lane is going to keep that sort of at a manageable time. It'll be interesting to see how it happens.
Yeah, in general with those rides, even though it's more money, if you can swing it, I recommend the individual lightning lane versus waiting in the standby. Just Time is money.
Yeah. And something that I learned from you this week, which is very topical in our news, has to do with Captain Kate. Do you want to tell us what her big news was?
Captain Kate, who was famous for being, um, I think, the only female cruise captain on a large ship, has announced her departure from Celebrity Cruise Lines, and she left her next steps pretty open.
Yeah, I think that's huge news. She was the first female captain to captain a large cruise ship, but beyond that, she's so wildly popular. I don't think I realized she has over 1 million social media followers. That's
She's like an
huge.
internet
That's like
celebrity.
Katy Perry. She so is. Like I'm
Yeah.
when I think of who's got 1 million followers, I automatically think Kardashians or somebody like that.
Yeah.
But she's got a huge following.
Yeah, and I think people would sail specifically to see her.
Totally think that they would. Now, I did not have the opportunity to sail with her, but she was such an icon and so well known. It's almost like these people that go from ship to ship because they have a preference for cruise director. There were cruisers that only sailed because she was the captain of the ship.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting, and we'll keep an eye on where she's headed next and what her next steps are.
I have heard those dark rumors that she'll do a below deck. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I don't think that's her big plan, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah. And then the other big news, and I'm excited about this one because Disney Springs has finally announced something to take over the big empty NBA experience building.
Yes. Tell me all about it. I can't wait.
So the NBA experience was it took over Disney Quest, right? And I actually visited there in October 2019, and it was fun. But it closed with the pandemic and never reopened.
Yeah.
And it's a huge building. It's so much potential space. They are moving Level 99 in there. Now, Level 99 actually opened their first facility in my town, in our mall. So,
Wow.
yeah, so it took over where Sears was, part of where Sears was in our mall. And it's really fun. It's kind of a series of little, wouldn't necessarily call them escape rooms because it's not so much of an escape room, but there's like a challenge in each room. Some of them are physical, some of them are more mental, puzzle type things, but you can kind of do them in any order and they're all timed and you get, it's all electronically monitored. So it's a place you probably can't do the whole thing in one visit. And at least in our town, you pay by the time frame. So, you'll spend 3 hours there or you spend 5 hours there. And if you want to come back another time and use your same login information, you can do the rooms you haven't done before. So,
Well, that's very cool.
yeah, it's really fun. I think we questioned whether it was like an adult only. It's not a little kid experience. It's kind of more of a preteen, teen adult experience. At least that's how it is in my town. But, I'm not quite sure if they're going to do anything different for Disney. But I'm just excited that space is being used.
Yeah, I had not heard of Level 99. And when I went and Googled it, it immediately said adult playground, like they bill themselves as an adult playground.
Yeah.
And my initial impression was, is this going to be an adult only thing at Walt Disney World? Which not only it sounded kind of cool because there's not really an adult only experience at Walt Disney World,
Right.
unless you're at La Cava, but yeah, it does not have an age limit. It says that they do recommend that most of their challenges are for ages 10 and up or better suited to ages 10 and up. So I think it'll be interesting to see if there are any adaptations made because it's at Disney.
Yeah, and the one in our town is kind of co-located with a partnership with a local brewery. And so there's a restaurant and then like a kind of more of like a beer hall type food experience. Now that's only in our town with that local brewery. I'm curious to see, what kind of food I'm sure they'll have some sort of food experience in Orlando.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I never did the NBA experience, but I have done I did Disney Quest a few times, and it's something that my kids really enjoyed when they were young, mostly because we were not, we did not go to arcades and stuff when our kids were young. So when they would go there, it was super exciting to play all the games and do all of the things. So I'm really jazzed to see how this turns out.
Yeah.
And I just have one other, if I wasn't a travel agent, I might not even bring this up, but as a travel agent, I would be remiss if I didn't say keep an eye on your spring and summer travel. As some of you may have heard, there has been a restructuring at some of the staffing at the national parks and the national seashores. And these facilities are kind of scrambling now to piece everything together as to how the spring and the summer, which is for some of them their busiest times, how it's going to look. Some lines are predicted to be super long. Some of the services are going to be impacted. You may even have occasions where instead of being open 7 days a week, a park is only open 5 days a week. So if you have plans in the spring and summer to go to a national park or a national seashore, any type of national attraction, you just want to keep an eye on what their schedule looks like and what amenities and attractions will be available when you go.
Yeah, just keep an eye on it basically until you go, because we don't know what will change or how frequently it'll change.
Is a wrap for us this week. We are so excited that you were able to join us. Don't forget to like the episode, subscribe to the channel, do all of the things, tell all of your friends, and tune in next time, because on our future episode, we will be talking about how to save money going to Walt Disney